And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back in. Here we are. We're at, I don't know, whatever episode this is, 348. Sorry, I was messing with the volume, the gain, if you will, on the Zoom H6. There's an H8 out? But even besides that, there's other ones too. There's a Zoom H8 recorder that came out in 2020. I had no idea that existed. And then they even have a newer one than that. Which one? What's the one that... They have an H6 Studio, which is, I guess, the updated version of the one I have. I had no idea that existed. All of this until a couple of months ago. At the top of this year, that's when I read that the H6 Studio, the H5 Studio, all these new ones exist for these people who are trying to be quote-unquote podcast content. We're creating content. We're creating content. Oh, God. The H6 does what I needed to do. The H6 Vanilla. I do wish it had this touch screen that the H6 Studio has, but also I can't seem to find a review for the H6 Studio. Anyway, what's going on with me? That's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was last week. I don't even know if I mentioned it, but at some point I went to there was a golfing event here in Georgia, in Atlanta, called the Pro Tour Championship, the PGA Tour Championship, and it's a golf outing where it's one of the big playoffs that came about in the for the what should we call it? Now I'm trying to bring up the web page for at the East Lake Golf Club here in Atlanta, Georgia. As you, if you follow golf, Tommy Fleetwood won. It was a wonderful experience. I go pretty much every single year. If you're watching the video, you're looking at Tommy be interviewed on the greens of the grounds of the East Lake Golf Course. That is a time in which all of these fans can go down and enjoy themselves and watch the final putt and everything. I go every year. I've gone every year for the past 3 or 4 years. I usually go with a friend. Last year I don't think I went. I went with myself. But I love it. I love to park in a secret parking spot that's half a mile away. You don't have to deal with people, and then you have to cross the street. That's it. All you have to do is cross the street, and then you're set. I love it. It's fantastic. I like going. It's just fun to go to. If you've never been to a golfing event, it is. I will say it is pretty hectic on the outside, and then once you get in, you just have to go to any one of the 18 holes. And what you do is you get there, you walk around. Usually, when you get there in the front, there is a big open road in the middle of that splits the top 9 and the bottom 9. I think that's the rating for it. But there's a big open road area that is about 2 car widths wide. So one lane going this way, one lane go this way, essentially. And there's the clubhouse. There's a couple of small buildings. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because every single year I walk in, I always go to the wrong side because I just want to see a couple of guys tee off because I try to get there around the time when the guys that I want to see everybody, but the guys that I want to see are teeing off. So I try to get there around noon for this year. Last year, I think I got there like at 11. But I I always get stuck on the wrong side. And then I always have to try to cross again, this 2-car width wide road. And always the red shirted tour championship workers that are working there throw their arms up against me and the multiple dozens of people trying to cross there. They always go, "No, stop it! How dare you! What are you doing? You can't cross right now." Again, I have very strong legs, and if there was no one in front of me, I could leapfrog this. It's like 10 feet, and they throw their arms up, and I always go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." And then you have to wait, and usually it's for like one cart to drive by, or sometimes they stop you for no reason. I've never gotten to anyway, and then you have to cross at a designated like crosswalk. Like you can't cross the road. It's so strange. I don't know. I usually avoid like one again, and then once I get past that, once I see, Akshay Bhatia and Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa and Scotty Scheffler, when I see those guys tee off, and then I follow a group. So that's what I did. I followed. I did. Akshay and no, hold on. I saw who did I see tee off. It was the guys before Akshay and Justin. I saw them. I think of the group before them as well. So I saw 2 groups before them tee off. I stood there for like 30 minutes as I waited for Akshay and Justin to get up. They teed off. I followed them to the first hole, and I followed them, I think, to the 4th hole. And then I knew that Scotty was teeing off 2 groups after them. Scotty Scheffler, who's the current world leader by like truly no exaggeration. He's got like 200 plus points. The next one is Rory McIlroy at the 100 something points. And then after that, it's like everybody else is like 80 something points. It's ridiculous. The disparagement between the numbers is crazy. So I walked around to different holes. Last year, I think I told this story anecdote about how I was walking by myself, and I was just walking, looking at the ground because I was traversing from the end of one hole all the way to the start of another hole, and they're right beside each other. So I was just walking on this long grass pathway. No one else is around me, and I see a cameraman. Or I feel the presence of somebody, and I turn, and there's a cameraman right next to me, just hoofing it, and he's running backwards, and he's just backwards with the camera on his shoulder, and then I go, oh, well, somebody must be nearby, and I turn my head back forward, and I just keep walking, and then he's in front of me, and I go, what the hell is this guy doing? And I look to the side of me, and like maybe like 3 or 4 feet to the side of me is Xander Schauffele, who is just like doing the same thing, huffing along. And then I'm like, oh, Xander Schauffele's next to me. Like truly with it, I could reach my hand out and we could touch. And then behind me rather, was just a group of people, just like a massive group of people, just like all with their cameras out, like trying to get. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. So at any point, I probably was on broadcast walking next to Xander. Just saw me with my water bottle. It's great. It's wonderful because I read the rules this year because I wanted to go and if you're listening to LinkedIn Logs, my jobs podcast, you know that I am sans job at the moment. So I was wondering if I was going to be able to afford a ticket. And on Facebook Marketplace, I found a guy who was, first of all, there are fake resellers everywhere. In the same way that people are trying to sell fake tickets for for a show, for a Beyonce concert or whatever, there's fake tickets for the Tour Championship. And you just have to click through the profiles and check and see and ask people like real questions. And this guy, I guess I don't know if he got a bundle of free tickets, but he was trying to sell them for an appropriate amount of money. He was trying to sell the Sunday. I go every Sunday. I prefer Sunday. Thursdays and Fridays are bad because I don't want to go to the first day Excuse me. And I don't want to deal with the first day stuff. And there's just so many golfers on the first day. And that, you know, I just don't want to do. I don't want to. I don't like. I don't like. I even watch. I don't even like watching regular golf tournaments or other golf tournaments on the first day. Well, yeah, this is a championship playoff, so I get to say regular. And Friday, and also I don't want to deal with traffic. So Thursday and Friday, I don't want to deal with work traffic. That's a no go. Even though it's only with no traffic, it is 15 minutes for me. With traffic, it's 20, but it's a heavy 20. And then, and I can't ride my bike because Atlanta hates bikes. And I can't take the train because the train stop is a little too far for the walk. And then Saturdays, I don't want to deal with Saturday. I just don't want to do. I want to do something else on Saturday. I want to go Sunday. Sunday's the best day to go. So I usually go. So I go every Sundays. So I go on Sundays, and it was great. It was wonderful. I drove there I left here at like 11:40, and then I got there. I parked in the secret spot around noon, right? Because I did take a back way to get there, which was detrimental. And then I'll tell you this. I brought a Bud Light that I got. We had a pool party with my apartment complex. I think I mentioned that last week. And at the end of the pool party, they had all this extra beer, and I went, "Can I have some?" And I filled up a box with just like different IPAs and other beers. Again, sans job. And I brought one of those beers. This is from weeks ago. So I brought one of those beers, and on the walk there, I was carrying a water bottle, the beer, and again, I read the rules, and it said that you can bring an opaque bag. Last year, I brought a crossbody bag, and it didn't matter. I don't think anyone stopped me. This year, again, no one stopped me. I could have just walked in there with that beer. They would have seen it. But yeah, I walked in with my water bottle, which again, they said they had to be empty, but no one checked. And you can bring snacks in a plastic baggie as well. But I decided to, while walking there with that beer, to just scarf down a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I did bring other snacks in my pockets, and one was a protein bar that has chocolate on it, and by the time I ate it around 2, it was like chocolate and peanuts just melded together because it's in my back pocket. You walk around the holes, you follow the golfers. It's great because they get right up next to you. It's wonderful. And at some point, I knew. So once Scotty and Colin Morikawa and everybody else after Akshay and Justin were playing for a few holes, I think I followed them to like 4 or 9. No, it was 4. And then I went because I wanted to see Rory McIlroy and a bunch of other golfers, and figuring out where people were at this time. I don't know how I did it, but I circumnavigated what I felt like was the globe, and the schedule and everything. It was crazy. So once I got to 4, I said, let me watch them finish, and then I'm gonna go straight to 9. And I had to do the math because I knew that Scotty Scheffler had teed off, at like, I think it was like 1 or 2 or something along those lines. And then I thought, okay, well, if he's 2 groups behind and I'm with Akshay and Justin, and then Rory was, 2 or 3 groups ahead, they have to be at 10 or 9 or 10. And then I whittled that down to 8 to 9. So I went to 9, and then I saw Rory, and I went and I walked with them for a little bit. And then I said, okay, at this time, at like 3, I think I'm going to post up at 17 and 18. And then I posted up at 17 and 18. I had to go to, there's a hole where they hit it across man-made water feature, like a lake of some sort. They hit across this giant body of water, and people were not having a good week with that one. And I noticed that I did not get to that one, so I went. So yeah, that's right. After I followed Roy for a little bit, I went all the way across the entire course to stand there to watch a couple of guys hit from there. And I went, great, I saw this. And then I turned and I went all the way back to where I was. I had to pee at some point because I did have a bottle of water. It's unfortunate. Their water refill stations are so bad. But I couldn't find there's a water fountain that I usually go to, and I couldn't find it. The water refill station, God forbid you bring a reusable metal bottle like I like to carry with myself. Oh, but the Yeti performed. Usually I bring a Lululemon, but the Yeti performed very well. Then I posted up at 17 for a little bit, and then for minutes. And then I looked across, and nobody was at 18, at the tee off for 18. And it was around 3:30 at that point, 3 or 3:30, or maybe even, because I left at like 5. So it was like 3:30 around that point, and I went, okay, if I go to, 18 right now, then I can just catch everybody that I did not see. So I got to see, and then I was able to see. So I was able to see Shane Lowry. I was able to see Rory right next to me, and as opposed to like being, because Rory's big, so as opposed to being like standing intentionally further away. I was able to see every single person, Keegan, like everyone, Keegan Bradley, everyone who was right there, and it was fantastic. And because I sat at the tee for until 5:00. Truly, it was great. Drinking water. I wore this big giant sun hat that was ruined last year because it fell into a lake. But I continue to wear it on the sunniest of days, and I might go to the pool. I will go to the pool after I'm done with this stupid show. But it was great. It was fun. It was wonderful. I spent 18 minutes talking about it. Wish I could write it off. And also, my ticket only cost $40. I was able to convince the guy, like, hey, man, this is part of a ritual I usually do, or tradition. If you're able to go down to 40, great. If not, and then he said, fine, let's do it. And then I bought a ticket on Saturday. And then Sunday I went. Made brunch, went to the pool. That's why I went at noon. I went to the pool for like truly 20 minutes. And it was kind of chilly. So that's what I did. All right, let's move on to the first topic. And I did not go to a movie this week, so I'm sorry to disappoint. Next week, we'll see. What is going on? All right, this first one comes from The Wrap, written by Roger Chang. The Starz streaming breakdown, stay exclusive or license your biggest franchises. Starz and Lionsgate are no longer family. They broke up. Lionsgate is now just a movie studio, and Starz is a streaming channel as well as a premium channel on your cable platform provider. Starz, if you don't know, is I guess it's like the third-rate HBO, because Showtime was the second-rate HBO. It was a network that's known for shows for like Outlander, and now it's got the Power franchise, and it is a pretty it's a pretty popular platform for mostly, I would say, black TV shows and movies, and that's just kind of the niche they fell into, especially with Power. Power was co-created by 50 Cent. It's generated roughly $130 million in streaming revenue through subscriber additions and retention between the second quarter of 2022 through the first quarter of this year, according to 2025. Parrot Analytics' streaming economics data. Outlander is also very profitable, but Power exceeds it mostly because I think Power has more TV shows. I think Outlander is just now getting a spinoff, and it's been going on for a very long time, but it exceeds Outlander. But thanks to an expansive licensing deal, Parrot estimates that the time traveling romance show has generated $450 million in revenue for Netflix, despite only generating $75 million in direct streaming revenue for Starz. So those two franchises have really helped elevate Starz and kind of keep it afloat and keep it going for what it is. They show a chart on this, and it has grown exponentially. Now, since Starz is a public company right now, it's shown that we're seeing these numbers publicly for the first time, and it's got a loss of $42.2 million. Its subscriber base is shrinking by 520,000 to 19.1 million. So now that it's an independent company, what can it do with what it has? Starz does not have that many shows to call its own. Let's see. If I go to Starz.com, it's got, you can see that they advertise Outlander. They have the Magic City documentary. I think they also have what is that show called? P-Town? It's a show like about sex workers. They've got BMF, Black Mafia Family, which is something I've never seen. P-Valley, that's what it's called. Down in the Valley is a documentary series inspired by P-Valley. They also have, they picked up Minx from HBO. They gave it a second season, then canceled it. P-Valley, there you go. That's a show that shoots here in Atlanta. And if it's still going on, then it still shoots. They also brought back Party Down for one season, and as you can see, they have more Power stuff. They also have a litany of different movies like Flight. You saw that Get Rich or Die Trying. They have Nonstop, Alex Cross, The Expendables 4, which is one of the worst movies I've seen in my entire life. Sleepless, which is a pretty decent straight to video. The Ministry of Gentleman Warfare, which is good when I saw it in theaters. So they have movies and shows. They also acquire stuff like The Ministry and Alex Cross and all that other, and Flight and all that stuff. But the idea is for them, much like Warner does with its shows and movies, unlike what Disney does not do, is to share Outlander with Netflix, where it does gangbusters, luckily. Should they do the same thing with Power? They could grow. They do have Power as the franchise. They can take Outlander to different platforms. But that's pretty much it. Yes, there is an Outlander prequel called Blood of My Blood. And it's going to be in its second season this year. Okay, so I was right. They have more franchises they have to come from the Power world. And they have another, Spartacus. Oh, yeah, that's right. Spartacus was a franchise. They're reviving that. If their library can grow, then they'll be able to take it other places. Maybe they could. I think you can watch Spartacus for some point, for some time. You could have watched it on Prime and Hulu, but I don't know. They could. Yes, it's very possible that they could just send their library to other places where they do well. They also have a lot of deals on Starz all the time. Right now they have a 3 months for $5. You can Prime Video is always running a good promotion. They're also on Hulu. Speaking of that, Peacock just signed a deal with Prime for a couple of years where you can get Peacock on Prime Video channels, which is good. That's where Peacock should have been the entire time. Peacock should never have been by itself prior to the sports thing, and now they have no choice but to be by itself. Also, it's $17.99 a month for ad-free. Jesus. It's expensive for Peacock. But does stars have that power, the star power, in order to allow itself to be, or allow its shows to be sold or put elsewhere for a time being. Are people going to necessarily go to Hulu to watch Power alongside other great Hulu shows that I can't pull up right now? I can't think of one Hulu show, and I'm on Hulu daily, mostly to watch shows that aren't on Hulu, that aren't Hulu originals. Is that something? All right, this next one comes from IGN, written by Tom Phillips. Nintendo reportedly, quote, almost discouraging Switch 2 development as studios told to launch games on Switch 1 and rely on backwards compatibility instead. Now, this comes via Digital Foundry, where they say Nintendo is still restricting, or excuse me, where Phillips writes that Digital Foundry says Nintendo is still restricting the supply of Switch 2 development hardware and instead telling some studios to launch their titles on Switch 1 games, as Switch 1 games rather, that can then be played via backwards compatibility. Nintendo is trying for what this is coming across as, for a little bit. Nintendo is trying to, for a very, very small time period of what seems like, Nintendo is trying to treat the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 like how Microsoft and Sony are treating, or treated rather, the Xbox One and the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. The way that Nintendo has done this their backwards compatibility has always been, there's really no update. They're like, for Wii to Wii U, yes, you could play Wii U games on the Wii, and even before that, from GameCube to Wii, you could play GameCube games on the Wii. You can play Wii games on the Wii U and GameCube games on the Wii, but there's never been any benefit from that. Games never ran better. And now, with the addition of, I guess you could say, from 3DS to 3DS I. Is that what it's called? What's the 3DS with the circle pad? 3DS with circle pad. What was that called? What is the 3DS? 3DS XL. So from the 3DS to the 3DS XL, the new one with the little thumb thing, it was a little bit more powerful and games loaded up a little bit more quickly. But they never really dabbled in that Xbox One to Xbox Series X leap. There was never that PS4 to PS5 leap for them. They never, and now that they have this Switch 1 to Switch 2, they're trying to make that. They're trying to have that ability. Hey, we might be able to get them to put Elden Ring on here, and we might be able to have Cyberpunk on here, and they do have Cyberpunk on there, and it runs probably better than it runs on the Steam Deck. But the way that development on the Switch 2 is, without giving out these development kits and asking people to make games for both, you're kind of hampering. Is that it? You're kind of putting them in a pickle, because the Switch 1 has been bottlenecked. There is a top to what Switch 1 is, and we saw it with a lot of games. We saw it with the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, a game I had no major issues with, but a lot of people did, and it just did not run well. And you know what? That is very true. Even though I had no issues with it, I saw where the constraints were with Switch 1, and I'm sure it runs loads better on Switch 2. He points as if he has one over there. No, he just has a Switch 1. Don't worry, by the time new Pokemon comes out, I will have a Switch 2. Mario Kart World probably is not going to be able to run on Switch 1, and that's why it's a Switch 2 only game. Same thing for Donkey Kong Bonanza. You have to be able to make these games for the bigger system, because Switch 1 is a 10-year-old thing. It's 10, 8 or 9, 10. It might be 10 years old. It's old. Give them the dev kits. Digital Foundry's John Lineman said during a recent podcast that he's spoken with plenty of developers where they were told that their game, they should just ship it on Switch 1 and rely on backwards compatibility. We talked to a lot of devs at Gamescom this year, and so many of them said the same things. They want to ship on Switch 2. They would love to do Switch 2 versions. They can't get the hardware. It's really difficult right now. And I think in Nintendo's own poorly thought out way is that they want at the beginning of the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 generation, you were able to not even for all of them, but like buy a game and then it'd be upgraded to the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 version from the previous generation. But not all the games were able. Not all the games did that. Some developers just put out one version of the game, and then you could just download better graphics, better gameplay, better performance. That's not what happened. There would be an Xbox Series X version, Xbox One version. But for a lot of it, it was broken. Borderlands Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I think that's the name of that one. They released a version for Xbox One and a version for Xbox Series X, and the Xbox Series X version was always $70, so expensive, or however much money. I think it was $70, and the Xbox One version was always going on sale, but even if you bought on Xbox Series X, you'd never get the Series X version because you had to buy that special edition that has that version. The same thing goes for Hogwarts Legacy of Wizardry, whatever the fuck that game is called. That one is, they have two different versions for that. And the Xbox One version, yeah, you could buy it, play it on your Xbox Series X, but you wouldn't get the better graphics. You wouldn't get the better performance. It would just be the Xbox One version on the Series X. I understand what Nintendo is saying. They want what I think that they want is you to develop a Switch 2 game that's playable on the Switch 1, which makes sense. But that's not how game development necessarily works. They'd have to build so many layers for that. There's so many layers. You can't just like downgrade a game. But what they're saying is build a Switch 1 game that plays on both consoles equally, which is not the case. It's an interesting discussion they had. There's some great quotes here, and I don't want to read too much about them, but today is the 29th. What came out yesterday was the Kirby. There's a Kirby game on Switch called Kirby's Happy House of some shit. What is this game called? Control F, Kirby. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And then that game came out last year or 2 years ago. There's a Nintendo Switch 2 edition that just released for an extra $20 on top of the game. Or you could just buy this new edition that is a Switch 2 edition for $80. Ugh. The same thing goes for Super Mario Party Jamboree. They also have a version called Super Mario Party Jamboree Plus TV Edition. And then this one's called Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Starcross World. Again, there's no way to get the Switch 2 Edition without this extra thing, so you have to spend $80 regardless. It gives you enhanced visuals, the end, and the DLC, enhanced visuals, and the DLC. It came out in 2022. So they're asking $80 for an old game plus DLC. It improved the Switch 2 edition features improved performance in addition to this new story campaign, which I'm fine with. I'll buy DLC. I'm not gonna say I love DLC. I'll buy DLC, but that doesn't necessarily make it okay for this to be done. $80. All right. This next bit is a little bit more local. Oh. And I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. It was loud. This next bit, I don't know. I think this might be allergies, might be COVID. We'll see. But apparently the CDC is stupid and wrong, according to our president and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Everybody's doing a Robert F. Kennedy impression. It's time for me to do one. I'm Robert F. Kennedy. that hurt. I'm Robert F. Kennedy. New York Times wrote this. Atlanta Journal-Constitution is going to quit print. Cold turkey. This comes from Katie Robertson. 150 years ago, in 1868. Don't know if that's 150 years ago. What time is it? 25 minus 1868. 157. Let's round up. 160 years ago, Andrew Morse joined the Atlanta Journal-Constitution as a president and publisher in January 2023. But the company, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, has been publishing print since 1868. They're going to cease print in December 31st will be the last time they print. Roughly a third of the country's more than 1,000 remaining daily newspapers still print 7 days a week, according to a 2024 report of the state of local news by Northwestern University. Many others have reduced their print frequency to cut costs. The same study found that about 180 newspapers that had once printed daily put out newspapers fewer than 3 days a week. Now, if you look at Conjecture Online, this doesn't mean anything because the AJC has been bad for years. Also, they won't hire me. I've been applying to job. I am so well qualified, and I applied it to the AJC so many times, and yet they continue to say no. I even use their words: content, culture. Bunch of dill holes. What they want. What this new president from 2023, this is Mr. Morse, what they want is they want to reach 500,000 paid digital subscribers by the end of 2026. Now, that's a very achievable goal if you push it by 3 or 4 years. Just for reference, the New York Times... subscribers. I wrote Subaru subscribers. By as of August of 2025, the New York Times has 11.8 million total subscribers and 11.3 million online subscribers. There's approximately 580,000 print subscribers. What? No, that's wrong. Okay. The total subscribers I read was 11.88. Okay, I misread. That was my fault. Katie Robinson wrote an article for the New York Times saying that the revenue for New York Times jumped 9.7% from subscriptions and ads. They added 230,000 paid digital-only subscribers. They have a total of 11.8 million. Again, like I said, for Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the AJC, heretofore known, that what they want is 500,000 by the end of 2026. That would require so many people in this city to want to read local news when they could go to WSB TV, Atlanta News First. You thought I was going to say WCBS or where the hell it's called. No, it's Atlanta News First now. WXIA and WAGA, WAGA. The paper is not on pace to hit that goal, Katie writes. It has about 115 total paid subscribers, with 75,000 of those digital-only subscribers, a figure that's up from about 55,000 at the end of 2023. They would have to do more than what they publish right now. If you go to the AJC.com right now, which I would never do on God's green earth, they're asking for... They do run promotions like 99 cents for 3 months and all that horse hockey. But what they do is they post a lot of fluff pieces. Is Dragon Con this weekend? I didn't know that. They have a lot of fluff pieces that aren't really hard-hitting news. And if they do hard, quote-unquote, hard-hitting news, then it's not enough to warrant somebody coming in and wanting to continue to subscribe to this platform. Again, I scrolled to here. There's nothing I want to click on, as opposed to if I go to the New York Times, there's things all over the place. That's both hard-hitting and not hard-hitting. The overlooked element to K-pop Demon Hunters phenomenon. The publication is on track to increase digital subscriptions 35% from the end of 2023 to the end of 2025. Digital revenue is on pace to grow about 22% in that period. I don't know. I can't see. The print, leaving print is probably a good thing. But I just can't see that this is going to end well for this company. I mean, the Onion went back to print after a couple of years away. About 40,000 subscribers received a print paper, which is down from 94,000 in 2020. At its height in 2004, the Sunday edition had a circulation of about 630,000. The paper is printed at a facility in Gainesville, Georgia, that the AJC does not own. About 30 staffers, half of them part-time workers, would lose their jobs as a result of the change. Speaking of that, I've lived in this apartment for a very long time. I lived in this neighborhood for almost a decade. What I'm about to describe is just so disappointing to see. There was a car. I go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. I wake up at 3:30 to start, but I go to the gym at 5. And for a long time, like for maybe a year or two, maybe even longer, there was a very, very, very shitty red, like, I don't even know. It was a sedan. I can't remember what. It might have been a Chevy sedan or regardless, the front and the back bumper were just gone. It had no side mirrors. The lights barely worked. And the driver would drive that car and deliver AJC papers. And he would drive down the middle of the street, weaving, swerving. At 5 o'clock in the morning, just tossing the paper out, stopping on the opposite side of the streets, cars to run and get out, throw the paper out. And he would, and always so slow. And it was very scary. This is before I don't think I've seen him for a long time, but, and also, this is before I had my dash cam, because a guy held up a gun at me. Oh, if I had to, if I had the dash cam, then I could have just been like, point, point, point. I got you. And I would throw the book at him. What happens when? What do you do when someone holds a gun up at you? Do you go, oh, I'm scared, or do you go? If he was gonna do anything in his little Toyota Camry, he would have done something at Whole Foods. Jesus Christ. I don't think I've ever told that story, but it's that's basically the whole story. Oh my God, this is such an insane thing. Mr. Morse, who subscribes to the print versions of the Journal-Constitution, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post. Hey, I don't mind someone subscribing to get their news from a lot of sources. That's a crazy thing. You don't need to have 4 different subscriptions, one of which you work for, to physical news sources. You can get those all digitally. It's insane. But anyway, they're going to stop December 31st. All right. This is the last one. This comes from last week. Pamela McClintock at The Hollywood Reporter. The summer box office is quickly turning south. We had a decent year when it came to movies that released in 2025. I just typed in summer 2025 movies. The first movie to pop up was My Old Ass from 2024, a movie that I just watched. Moonrise Kingdom from 2012, Theater Camp from 2023. Come on, Google. Now, according to this list from the Associated Press, movies that came out in the summer of this year, I guess they started May 1st, included, I'm not including streaming ones, I'm going to do theatrical releases. Thunderbolts, Friendship, which I saw in theaters, Final Destination Bloodlines, which I recently watched, and I can't state this enough. That movie was so good. Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, Karate Kid Legends, Ballerina, which started June, How to Train Your Dragon, the remake, live action remake, Materialists, 28 Years Later, Elio. I saw a lot of these movies in theater. Bride Hard, F1, Megan 2.0, Sorry Baby, I guess we'll include that. Well, no. I take Sorry Baby back. That's a indie movie. Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, I Know What You Did Last Summer, reboot, remake, Smurfs, Fantastic Four, First Steps, Together. That's an indie movie. Bad Guys 2, Naked Gun, Weapons, Freakier Friday, Nobody 2, and that's it. And I guess The Roses counts. No, that's an indie movie, I guess. No, it's Searchlight. It's smaller. It's not indie. Caught Stealing, Sony. Yeah, well, it's Darren Aronofsky. I don't know. I'll include it. So that's the entire summer slate. There were hopes that the box office would top at least $4 billion, but that did not happen. Compared to the years past, this movie was slightly better than last year, this year was slightly better than last year. It's going to roughly gross out to about $3.75 billion. Last year was $3.68 billion. The year before that was $4.01 billion, which was better than the 2021's $3.43. Again, we're still coming out of the pandemic, which that 2020, that year was only $176 million. And then 2019 was $4.35 billion. The highest has ever been in the past 13 years was 2013 at $4.76 billion. What's her name? Pamela McClintock. She refers to this as a roller coaster ride. it has just been a downturn. There have been great big movies that have easily cleared billions of dollars, including Deadpool and Wolverine and Pixar's Inside Out 2. But we're still, prior to those years, which was last year, they're still behind because they were the majority of that. This is the first summer in recent memory, as Pamela writes, besides the pandemic, when not one Hollywood movie crossed $600 million domestically, or $500 million for that matter. That's why when Superman went past $600 million worldwide, it was considered a milestone because, hey, that's what we got. F1 the movie is about to do the same thing. It's a mixture of it's a good rebound, but it has been a mixture of people not wanting to truly go out and see a movie. But this year I saw a lot of movies and I saw a lot of people in those movie theaters. But then, if people don't want to go out and see a movie and they want to stay at home because, hey, in 60 days, Thunderbolts is going to be on Disney Plus, then we have to drive people out to get movies. And then another big issue for at least a week was AMC adding more commercials and trailers prior to movies. So we had, instead of 20 minutes, we had 25 to 30 minutes, which was a big issue. A lot of people did not like that, including yours truly. And then they rescinded that. But where does that put movie theaters in general? Like and also movies that came out in streaming this year were still not necessarily the best. Movies like Heads of State and Happy Gilmore 2, while they did well for the platforms that they were on respectively, Prime Video and Netflix, it doesn't necessarily equate to true monetary success. Take K-pop Demon Hunters, which exploded on Netflix, but last week they released it to theaters with a sing-along version for a couple of days, and they made $20 million, which is nothing. But on the big thing for Netflix, it's huge. They made 18 million worldwide for a couple of days. For one day. Oh, Jesus. Imagine if they put that in theaters, because it is a Sony movie. I would have seen it. I saw Elio. Movies have to, I think, obviously Avatar, Fire and Ash, the next Spider-Man, Avengers, Doomsday, which I think is next year. But I can't think of anything that else is going to draw people out to theaters. Not even the final Mission Impossible would do that. I scratched myself and I wanted to see if I was bleeding. I'm sorry. If you looked at the video, you saw me just vigorously scratch my knee and then pull my fingers up. What's going to draw people back to theaters? AMC and other places have already given in on making, seats super comfortable. You can lay down on a couch and, kiss somebody. And they give you your full meals, which is not something I like. I think it's up to the people to, be more interested in movies. And also it's up to the studios to put out better movies. And also not to flounder when it comes to releasing a movie to streaming. I don't think there should be a template for this movie comes out in theaters and then in 2 months it'll be on a streaming platform. I think as much as I want to watch Ballerina again or Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, as much as I want to see those movies again, they've taken their sweet times to get to streaming. You can finally now buy Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, and I feel that it's by October. I feel by October it'll be on Paramount Plus, but it came out in May. That makes me want to buy it and go see it again, or a couple of months ago, go to the theater again. There shouldn't be a template. We should want to go places and do things. We shouldn't just, because every movie looks the same on Netflix. Every movie is the same version of, the same lighting, the same boring acting, the same everything. I don't know. I mean, I do know. I want to see movies in theaters. I want people to enjoy themselves, but also prices. I think prices are play big into it. But again, you don't have to go at night. You can go during the day on Saturday. You can go during the day on Sunday. Your schedules change. I have nothing going on in my life, so I'm able to go on Tuesday and now Wednesday with this half priced. But it doesn't have to be an evening thing. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to get meals and popcorn and all that stuff. Shit, if I went to the drive-in last week. And if you're lucky, if you live next to a drive-in, go to a drive-in. Who cares? Was it last week? 2 weeks ago. Saw Freaker Friday. We brought popcorn and candy and drinks. And I did this old thing where I hid in the back and we paid for one ticket. But prior to that, we went to a brewery and we had a couple of beers and some hot dogs. So in total, that the $60 you would spend at a movie theater, we ended up spending it on food, and then I also had the popcorn here and the candy from Trader Joe's. So, whatever. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people sometimes. If you want to watch a video version of the show, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can see a video version of the other podcasts, LinkedIn Logs, which is the Jobs podcast, and Late Night Lately, which is the late night show. You can also see me talk to celebrities, famous people, semi-famous people, not very famous people, on youtube.com/cpluscomedy under the interviews. Subscribe to the shows wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram at @cpluscomedy, me at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.